Montreal is special, man.
Montreal is special.
Montreal is super special. It's special, real talent, and there's a reason for that too. I feel like like commerce in the big markets, you could tell like there was a lot of money injected into everything. So the culture became commerce, right? And here it's not the same. It's like entrepreneurs, we have to figure it out on our own. And that made for a lot of people to have a lot of talent, a lot of belief, a lot of heart into what they do. So that's the special thing about Montreal, man. There's no like huge corporations that came and injected money into the culture like that. We had to go and hunt and figure it out. I feel like we all running. I feel like everyone in the culture and everywhere in the world, we're running, trying to get to something. We're all in that race, but they forgot to tell us that there's no finish line. You know what I'm saying? There's no finish line in the race. So everyone's just running for something, but what's the purpose? What's the foundation? What's the reason why you're doing something, you know? Because I feel like, you could measure things that mean something, but you can't count. You can't quantify things that mean something, and I feel like we're trying to count a lot. We're trying to survive in the algorithm. We're trying to survive in the economy. But the real sense of purpose is there's no satisfaction in anything you could count, because you could count forever. That's infinity. But impact, uplifting others, anything you do out of love, that's forever rewarding. If you do things and the purpose is like, yo, let's get some money, man, listen, I met some people so poor in my life, all they had was money. Like literally, I seen it. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to, to move around and meet a lot of people from different backgrounds and to come back with the information. I came back with the information telling everyone, yo, that's not the way to go. That's not the people that you want to be like. They wish they could go back. And a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget about pure love, privacy, being able to take your kids to school without having to call security and stuff like that, right? But we're aiming at more and more, and we forget about the fact that being rich is how you make people feel. How they feel when you enter the room, how they feel when you leave. That's what really matters, and anything else, man, is futile. Anything else like comes and goes, and you will never be satisfied chasing. I'm able to say that now because I was chasing a lot, and even when I won, I didn't feel like I was winning inside. Like you get like, it's a high. You get a high off it, like, okay, you got money comes, money goes. That thing lasts for like a day, But when I had my daughter, man, she said, sit down. You know what I'm saying? Like sit down and start reevaluating what really matters. And I came to this understanding that, I had to slow down taking care of my daughter, and I got to understand, stop chasing outside and start digging more within. That's what kids are so pure. That's what they do to you, right? And since then, that's like kind of like the epiphany, like you said. Like that's what really made me understand what matters. I don't feel like the purpose is still here at large, because you'll find it. You'll find people that still try to talk that language. And then a lot of people try to use the culture like for it to be like a means to an end. You know what I mean? And how could I use this in order to better my situation? Chasing in this race that has no finish line, like I was saying. So yeah, man. Like, but I'm not mad at anything, because the way I do it, I look at everything developing, and the way it develops, like I tap into what I like, and I use it as a form of connection in order to connect with people, in order for people to relate. Because we got so good in the culture at like showing our bravado. You know what I mean? That we're showing our bravado, but who's really showing themselves in the vulnerable state, which is who we ultimately are. Recently, I made a very conscious decision because, there's many ways to operate through the algorithm and to move around it and to move inside it. And, people will come at you with different ways and things you got to do and whatnot. And I felt like, okay, now I'm making a very conscious decision to just create. I don't care about what my socials are telling me that I'm doing good, what percentage it's hitting or not. I don't care if one thing is hitting more than another. I just create. Because even if one thing hits more than another, right, in terms of numbers, maybe something else hit less people, but it was more valuable to their lives. Maybe it's something they could hold on to. What do I know, right? I can't measure. I can't count that. I could only understand that every time, if I have a gift, if I have a passion, every time I do what I do, is going to impact in a way, in some type of way. It's going to impact, and that's all that matters. It's like I remember when I was I think I was like it's 18 years old. We're doing this show with my group, with my Zion. We're doing this show, right? And then there's this little girl, after the concert, sold out, everything crazy. She comes up to me and she goes, "This is a ring. This is my brother's ring. And my brother's on his deathbed right now. He's dying of cancer, but you're his favorite artist. Before dying, he wanted me to come and give you that ring." Right? And I kept it around my neck since, never left my neck since that time. And I got to understanding at a very young age, we can't measure impact, but we could be conscious. We could be conscious, we could understand it and try to move in that direction, right? Anything that's being created took another proportion. It became bigger than ever. So as that becomes bigger and we're going against that machine, the truth will reveal itself more and more. And now, like with everything going on, like people need a way to get out of that whole scenario, that narrative, that social burden that we're up against, right? And people need that. People need it through art. People need it through creativity. People need it through connection. The only truthful and pure form of connection that we have left is anything that's being created. I mean, things change forms, right? But I feel like there's one thing that won't go away is how people can connect again, and how people feel going through this maze, right? Trying to find a way. Because ultimately your body will follow what the mind says. And if you feel good in life, if there's a purpose, if you're well surrounded, if you do things with a purpose, no matter what they throw at us, no matter what the agenda is, no matter what the course of history is going on, whatever's going on, you're still going to feel good. You're still going to be good. And everyone around you, because that's like, it's contagious, right? So everyone around you is going to feel the same way. I feel like that's the main reason why we're living, If you narrow it down to like even science and you say, we're like electrons and neutrons, right? And the only purpose is to make other molecules vibrate. If you could do that, you did something good with your life. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And when you approach that through creativity, through whatever you do in life, then you could be sure you're doing something right in your life and other people's lives. The greatest thing you could do is know yourself. A lot of times, like people say, we end up being we add up all these decisions in life, and that's who we turn out to be, right? And we navigate through life, but I feel like you gotta navigate yourself, because it's gonna get tough. The ups and downs, the hurdles, trials and tribulations, they never stop. Because once you figure one thing out, something else comes about. So You got to keep figuring it out all the time. But if you keep the main thing, which is why you're doing whatever you're doing, you'll find enough strength to power through. Because at the end of the day, for me, creating, right, and connecting is like breathing at this point. It's not like, I do it in order to get to a certain point. Like a lot of people in my world, like when you create, a lot of people create in order to get from point A to point B. Let's create to make it out of our situation. Let's create but who's creating to create? Who's creating to connect and impact, right? Once you do that, and that becomes like not something you're doing, but it becomes something you are. I'm satisfied for the first time. I've been running all my life, running all my life and winning and losing in the eyes of others in perception, right? But deep down, it was the same thing. I'm just running. And then you start staying still. And then instead of going towards things come to you. So you start reading. And the way I got to that point with me was the purest connection with my daughter, right? So it's just a way to go about it. It's just a way to keep moving, but to move smart, As they say, like, there's a lot of narratives that are thrown at us, like, okay, you got to work hard, but you got to be smart, Before you start working hard, you got to work smart, and smart is not a business plan. Smart is about understanding why you're doing whatever you're doing. And once you do that and you wake up in the morning and you have a sense of purpose because you feel like doing whatever you're going to do through your day because you're connecting, you're impacting, that changes everything. There's a lot of power in stillness, and there's a lot of power in manifestation, and there's a lot of power in the balance that you could find in yourself as you navigate, right? And I feel like when you know that and you move with that sense of purpose and you move with that notion, you could apply it through life, even in the movement, even as you're meeting people, even as you're, so as I go, I meditate, as I move, I meditate. And as I stay still and I stay in a grateful space for everything, I could look back on things and let all the good, embody all the good and be grateful and grasp it and let go of anything that's futile. I see it. You know what I mean? I could see things that don't matter. We're humans. We make mistakes. We're like, you can't go walk a perfect life and you go through the hurdles. You see them, you embrace them, but you really stay grateful in a grateful space for the blessings. And the blessings are all things that you manifested. You know what I'm saying? It's all manifestation. Things go away, right? Through movement, things go away. You either solve things or move past or beyond things all the time. The only way you don't is if you stop moving, right? So to me, that was always my thing. I was blessed enough to have OGs around me and people around me to, to keep me on the right path a lot of times, because it wasn't always easy, but the movement made it beautiful. And then now I could embrace the struggle. I could look at the struggle and say, thank God I went through that, because I wouldn't have been the same. I wouldn't have been, I would have had maybe a thought about something, but I wouldn't have lived it. So now when I come back with the information, you're looking at someone that lived different spectrums, like different types of situations, all types of situations, like almost all situations you can think about, and coming back with the information like, okay, there's more. It's in everything, right? Even here, like we're living in times where they're like, the French language is is really important here, and they want French to be the main thing. So they want to eradicate a lot of things in order for French to be there. Don't do that. Promote it in different ways. Promote it through culture. Make people feel involved. Make people feel, like, okay, that's mine too. Like, but don't try to take away at who they are. Don't try to take away at who they want to be. So it's the same thing in everything. Everything is connected. To me, it's the same. It's the same thing if you think about life as a whole. Like, don't try to, if you have a problem, don't try to be like, okay, the problem. Sometimes, yeah, you gotta move beyond past things, but you can't be like, okay, let me eradicate that. You gotta also try to find a solution, like another option, another way, another room to go to, and that's ultimately a lot of times that's the solution. They said that song is like top in the top 50 of the biggest songs of music history in Quebec, right? And then that only gets us to think about how did we do that? What was the reason why we did the song? And if you think about the the hook itself, I found that hook, right? I'm very proud of it. And I was just like, yo, life is hard and that's why we get together. That's all it says in Creole. But now we got everybody speaking Creole and singing the words. It's like, yo, life is not easy, so that's what we getting together. That's why we stick to one another. And that's ultimately all we were trying to say. We weren't saying like, okay, let's make a hit. We didn't even have the notion of what a hit could be or what it should be. We're just like, okay, let's dig into our roots and make something about the community and us sticking together through whatever, and the greatest gift is that it's been received that way. There's a true saying, you go as far as the people you surround yourself with. And the great thing about the community is that that's where you are. The people, the way it's like a micro society where you get to understand how to maneuver through life. But for some reason, because we all got our different, pathways in life, right? And then for some reason, that's where you are. For some mystique way, some mystique reason, that's where you are with these people, right? And ultimately, the way we were meant to operate is to live together. Like you see, like in villages, where you see people live together. You see a family, like if a kid is never born on his own with his family, like it's a whole village that takes care of the kid, right? So you become what you see, and you become, like I always say that with my daughter. I could tell her a bunch of things, but she's gonna follow what she sees me doing more than what I tell her to do, right? So the community is the same thing. As you grow in your community, you get to understand this micro society, but you get to understand how you can impact it and how it impacts you. So especially for us, the community became, like I was saying, like the survival thing, right? The survival tribe where you feel like, okay, we're segregated, but we're living because we got one another. We got each other, that's what it is. And then there's different ways you could go. There's different ways doing different people doing different things, right? And then you could be like, okay, this is where I fit in. As they say, get in where you're fit in, and then this is how I can impact, right? But the ups and downs and everything we go through is what shapes us as a collective in the community. If you think about it from on a larger scale, as being like human beings, we're all like one thing, right? But then we're separated through a bunch of things: language, backgrounds, or whatever. All these things that we're separated by, and then culture bonds people, right? And then through the bonding, you start understanding a way of life, and that way of life is shared by so many people in so many different neighborhoods that coming out of your neighborhood, the first connection you want to make, right? Because you're going to go towards what you know. First connection you want to make is with the people that live the same way you're living. So, boom, you start connecting with all the neighborhoods, right? And then that becomes like a city, and then the city becomes like countries, and so on and so forth. And that's the approach, right? And then through that, you feel like, okay, now we could shake the world through the power of who we are together. Now there's things we could do. They say like the most successful or powerful people are the people that could sustain the most, that could take the most, you know, they could be hurt the most, but they still pull through, you know. And even if you narrow it down to the simplest, business form where they say, keep going, you could have a million no's, and then the million one time that they say yes, that's where you bank off it. So it's the same thing. You just gotta go through it and navigate and know that you're gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? But then again, success is a very subjective thing. You know what I'm saying? So as we were talking about before, success to me is just the purpose in the movement. I remember when Freddie Villanueva got assassinated by the police force. And I was at a show, right? I was in Rwanda. So I'm flying back and I see the riot. I see the fire from the riot from the plane, right? I land. So the next day they start calling me and they said, could you come and talk to us? It was this big TV network. It was like this big news network that wanted to be there. So I'm like, for sure. So they're like, okay, the motive is to calm down the neighborhood. They're like, we know you're from there, so if you could talk and just let them know. So I remember going through the experience. I was like way younger at the time. So I go there and then you see the big screen, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So now we have this rapper with us, and how do you feel about the riots going down right now? And I told him, I said, hey, if there was no riots, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And I see the room in the back, the text, they're like, shut it down. They're like, shut it down. What is he doing? I'm like, let's be real about it. You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. But I did feel the pressure in how they would try to box me in and do this pre-interview to see if my mind was right about the whole thing, right? And I was I felt like I went in there to make it count, but fighting in order to make it count. And when I'm here, I feel like I'm home. I feel like we're making it count in the freest, in a free way, where we don't have to fight anything. And that after, for someone like me, I mean, like, that's everything. I look for moments like these. I feel super blessed, man. I feel blessed that you allow me to connect with you through this platform, which I feel like I was telling you, that's super crucial now. And I feel like it's a safe space, like a glitch in the algorithm where, again, you see people talk and being real about everything, not only the great side, the bravado, but also the vulnerable state. And I feel like people could give, through their experience, they give a lot of, gems and knowledge about ways to maneuver. Every time I get out the house and I go about my movement, I look forward to coming back home to my daughter. I look forward to seeing her evolve and me guiding her, but also especially learning through her, because, man, we learn so much just by seeing kids, the way they're living and what matters to them. And especially the fact that, they're light about everything. So she keeps me in that space where I feel like I get back to that, even when it becomes a lot, because we try to do so much, right? When you're ambitious, you want to, so, and then everything's light, and I get back to that. But at the same time, that's like the foundation. That's everything. I look forward to create some more. I want to. I'm working on things. I'm working on projects, and I feel like I'm so amped, man. I can't wait to just connect with people through the creativity, and see what it does. Because every time we go about that movement, I feel like I know that there's an impact and it uplifts people. So I can't wait to get back to that space again.